It's been a significant day with the Pran Pratishtha ceremonies being concluded in Ayodhya. To talk about the significance of this day, we have with us S. Gurmurthy, editor of Thuglak magazine. Thanks so much for joining us this evening on Times Now. Just today, Mr. Gurmurthy, you've posted in your social media account that the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha is the greatest moment in contemporary Hindu civilizational history. Why do you say this? And is it because, as the Prime Minister said, this is part of decolonizing the Indian mind?
See, it is in more than one sense a great event in the rediscovery of India. You know, I have been associated with this movement for almost 4 decades, since the very start of the movement. You know, when this movement started, we all knew the truth, but actively the truth was concealed, and the idea of India, which Mahatma Gandhi held out before the nation, Ramarajya, Rama as an icon of the country, were all being turned into unacceptable idioms. We faced all this. So this Ram Janmabhoomi movement overcame the perversion in politics and restored the Indianness which drove the freedom movement. I personally experienced it. Hundreds of people who were associated with the movement at the intellectual level and political level and at social level understood it, but a huge confusion was created at the mass level by saying that the Babri structure, which was in disuse for almost 150 years, was projected as a mask. With the result, I am reading out to you now the headlines from BBC. Today's headlines from BBC. Ayodhya Ram Mandir. Indian PM Modi inaugurates Ram Temple on raised Babri Mosque site. Then Al Jazeera. India's Modi opens controversial temple in Ayodhya. Time magazine. India is unveiling its controversial temple of Ram. CNN. Decades-long Hindu nationalist dream is about to be achieved. What does this mean? See, the negativity that was aroused around the Ram Janmabhoomi movement has spread all over the world. But this nation itself has become clear, because not only all the objections about Ram Temple, political objections have evaporated. The judiciary has sanctioned, and the first page of the Constitution, the preamble, shows the return of Ram to Ayodhya. So there has been a convergence of the social, political, civilizational, constitutional and judicial views on what Indian civilization is and how Ram and Ram Temple represents that. That is why I feel, and I am convinced, as one who underwent the trauma of 40 years of humiliation and being defamed as communal and anti-national forces, I feel that there is a revival, re-establishment and restoration of Indian civilizational pride.
I would ask you though, sir, that can this be completely divorced from a political motive? Are we all now supposed to completely deny? For instance, the opposition says that the timing of this is questionable. It's happening 3 months before elections. And will the BJP not therefore try to reap the political dividends of this? And while opposition may well be playing politics by not going to the Pran Pratishtha, should we also not say that BJP is not playing politics by the fact that the Prime Minister is at center stage of the Pran Pratishtha ceremony?
See, I will put it in 2 ways. Mahatma Gandhi was also accused of mixing religion in politics. That is because the idea of religion we use is the Abrahamic idea of religion, each of which reject the other religions. But our idea of religion, which is dharma, is accepting all religions. So to put Hinduism and Abrahamic religions on par is bound to create this confusion, and that confusion which was created before independence was not cleared after independence. So if you talk of Hindus, it means that you are talking against someone. It could be said, if you are talking of Christianity or Islam, you are talking against other religions, because they do not believe, not only do not believe in other religions, they want to convert other religions. So there is a paradigm difference between Abrahamic religions and Indic religions, which has not been factored into the national discourse. This is a fundamental problem for our politicians, equating the idea of Hindu spirit, which drove the freedom movement, as political. This is the one thing. Swami Vivekananda said, the nationalism in India is the culmination of the spiritual forces that unite India. This is what he said. So there is a link between the ancient idea of India, which the word Hindu represents, and the freedom movement itself. Now come to what happened afterwards. When the Ram Janmabhoomi movement was started, now nobody is opposing Ram Temple. People are supporting, saying that Ram Temple is being made use of for political purposes. You are opposing Ram Temple in 1980s, in 1990s, in 2000, till 2014. Now Ram Temple became a reality through, as the Prime Minister said, through patience, perseverance and maturity of the Indian people to wait for the highest court of the country to deliver justice. So the Hindus waited for so long, the nation waited for so long, and the outcome is the Ram Temple. This is no different from Somnath Temple. The Somnath Temple was built by a resolution of the Cabinet of India, presided over by Pandit Nehru. And it could be said it is because of Sardar Patel. But even after Sardar Patel passed away, the government continued to do the work of building the temple, and the temple was consecrated in 1951, long after Sardar Patel passed away. Of course, Jawaharlal Nehru's mind was confused about whether the president should participate or not. The president said, I am participating because it is a government project. If Somnath Temple could be a government project, and in which the President of India could participate, the Ram Temple, which is also a product of the legislation of Parliament, passed by Narasimha Rao Congress government in 1993, on which the Supreme Court decided that the land acquired under the law should be given for building the Ram Temple. There is a convergence of politics, law, legislation and constitution, and this huge affair in which crores of people are involved could not be managed by ordinary people. Government participation is a must. But in this case, it is the BJP, it is the RSS, it is the Hindu sadhus and sons, and millions of Karsevaks participated, and the representatives of this movement politically was Modi, and socially was Mohan Rao Bhagwat, and this is not a political project. It is a converged project. People who talk it is a political project do not know the history of either Ram Janmabhoomi movement or the freedom movement or the Somnath Temple consecration. So there is a total confusion about what is nationalism and what is politics, and that is the reason why the opposition parties are talking in these terms.
Mr. Gurmurthy, hailing from the state of Tamil Nadu, where there's a pitched political battle being fought. In fact, the BJP is accusing the state government of placing restrictions on religious activity in the state around the Pran Pratishtha. Is that a fact?
You see, I can understand if the state lays restrictions on celebrations on the street or in a public place, saying that it can create law and order problem. Even that is not true. If they did it, it is wrong. But what they did was much worse. They said inside the Hindu temples, you cannot be celebrating the Prana Pratishtha and you cannot be displaying the television showing the Prana Pratishtha. This is completely in tune with the Dravidian anti-Hindu idea. It is not politics. It is an anti-national idea. It has been brought into politics, smuggled into politics through the idea of pseudo-secularism. It is an anti-Hindu idea, anti-national idea by a political force which has its roots in seeking to divide India as Dravidistan. And it is unfortunate the so-called secular parties support this anti-national view smuggled into politics through pseudo-secularism.
The reason I'm asking you this is today the Supreme Court did take on record the Tamil Nadu government's submission that no oral instructions have been given to deny permission to pujas around the Pran Pratishtha in Tamil Nadu. However, the court did tell the government that just because community A or B is living in an area, the government should not restrict any activity, and is now going to hear this matter again after issuing notice. So how do you see the Stalin government's response overall to the event? Because there's a history of criticism pertaining to Sanatan Dharma as far as the DMK is concerned.
You see, so far as the political situation in Tamil Nadu, the ecosystem is concerned, it is divided between the Dravidian party A and Dravidian party B. So long as M.G. Ramachandran and Jayalalitha were leading the Dravidian party B, that is the ADMK, which proved to be more powerful, more popular than the DMK. The idea of nationalism, the idea of pure secularism, the idea of being equal to all religions was being observed by the ADMK. Now the ADMK itself has lost its capacity to take on the DMK. And so the DMK has become a power without opposition, ideological opposition. That is why the DMK is doing it. They could not have done it if Jayalalitha were there. They could not have done it if MGR were there. And so it is because of a political vacuum to oppose the DMK that the DMK has dared to do this, and I am sure that the judiciary will correct it.
It's interesting that you mentioned the lack of a strong opposition, because there are two factors to this. Because Jayalalitha and MGR, who you mentioned earlier, in fact, Jayalalitha herself has been someone who at one point of time at least has been an advocate of the construction of the Ram temple. In that context, do you see this reaction also being somewhere, a resistance to a true alternative perhaps coming in for the DMK, an alternative to the Dravidian politics narrative emerging in the state?
You are right. From a distance you are saying it. From my observation of the Tamil politics from late 1960s as a student till now, I can tell you that Tamil society has moved away from Dravidian roots of anti-Hindu and anti-nation stream, and it has become one of the most religious states in the country. If you take Tamil Nadu and keep the rest of the states on the other side, I can assure you, it is the most religious state in the country today. You can see massive crowds in temples, in all the festivals, and Tamil Nadu has completely changed. Tamil society has changed, for which the greatest contribution came from M.G. Ramachandran and Jayalalitha, who also politically understood this shift in Tamil society. But after them, there was no national leadership in Tamil Nadu which could take the place of the DMK. All the nationalist parties failed to take on the Dravidian forces. First, Indira Gandhi aligned with the DMK, then they aligned with the ADMK, then even the BJP aligned with the DMK and the Congress, and so there was no nationalist opposition to the divisive, socially, religiously divisive DMK ideology. And now, with the rise of the BJP, and particularly after Annamalai took over as the party president, there is a huge shift at the ground level. And with the Ram Janmabhoomi consecration taking place, it resonates, as you rightly said, resonates with the religious spirit of Tamil Nadu, which is very dangerous for DMK. If Tamil Nadu religious spirit asserts in politics, it only needs a match to light the gunpowder of nationalism in Tamil Nadu, and that is what they are afraid of, and that is why they are countering this.
And how do you see the impact of the Prime Minister's visit to Tamil Nadu and neighboring states? We know he has been visiting several temples where the story of Ramayana is tied, and perhaps the message coming out even today from the Prime Minister is that we may be separated by geography, by languages, but there is one common thread that ties several states together, and that's the Ramayana. Do you see this having an impact in Tamil Nadu as well?
Yes, all of us know that Rama traveled, and Rama's Ramayana link of all the states and particularly Tamil Nadu. But many people do not know the Sangam Tamil literature 2000 years ago. Purananuru and Agananuru are two important Tamil Sangam literature. They celebrate Rama. They mention about Ramayana. And then Silappatikaram, which is a literature 2000 years old, written by one Jain sadhu. It says Rama is divine. And then one Manimekalai, a kavya written by one Buddhist sadhu, says Rama was the reincarnation of Trivikrama. These are all Tamil literature, ancient literature. You remove this literature, there is no Tamil literature. So this is the integration between Tamil and North, Tamil Nadu and North. All this has been suppressed by an agenda-based education, and the Prime Minister's visit is recalling this ancient connection between Tamil Nadu and Sri Rama. It's a huge political shift that is taking place in the discourse.
Very interesting that you mentioned the linkages of North and South, because in terms of religious practices that this Pran Pratishtha signifies, and also several other aspects, like for instance the sculptor of the deity is from Mysuru, bringing his own local style to the north of India. How do you see this?
100%. There is no North and South in culture. There is an interlacing idea that has brought this country together. Mahatma Gandhi mentions this in his Hind Swaraj. This country has been brought together by Kshetradana. People moving from one place to the country, one place of the country to the other. And in that sense, India is one in the sense in which no two Englishmen are. This is his reply to people who asked, is India one? He said India is one, and that is why the British could establish one rule. These things are not taught, not known, not discoursed, not discussed. That is why new questions are raised, which were answered by Mahatma Gandhi 100 years back in 1909. So the North-South divide is a contribution of the Englishmen through the Dravidian movement.
But there are those who are objecting to this fusion of a state as well as religion. Pinarayi Vijayan, for instance, Kerala Chief Minister, has come out to say that the two should not be mixed, that this is a religious event in which government has intervened, and that's why he's fulfilling his constitutional obligation by, for instance, not participating in the Pran Pratishtha ceremony. There are those who are also questioning whether the Dhanipur mosque in Ayodhya, when it's ready, will also receive support from the powers that be in the government. For instance, the Prime Minister also going and inaugurating it if he's invited.
You see, so far as Ram Temple is concerned, it is being built on the basis of a precedent setup in Somnath. And this was because a temple was raised down and a mosque was raised in its place. This has been proved in the Ram Janmabhoomi case by the Allahabad High Court as well as by the Supreme Court. So that responsibility of restoring, because it is those kings who destroyed the temple and built the mosque, and so the responsibility fell on the successor governments. The Indian state is in a sense a successor government, because the previous Muslim government destroyed the temple and built the mosque. The new government, the new state had the responsibility, and that is why Narasimha Rao passed the law to acquire that place. Otherwise, what authority Narasimha Rao government had to acquire the place where the so-called Babri Masjid stood? So, there is a government responsibility to restore to the Hindus the property which was captured by the Mughals. So this Ram Janmabhoomi stands on a different footing. But when the Supreme Court said you give a land for them to build a mosque for the Muslims, because it is more a kind of a gesture, there is no obligation. Because the Babri Masjid itself was not a masjid. It was in disuse. It was called by the government as a disputed structure. So these two do not stand on the same footing. This is the first point. Second point is, Pinarayi Vijayan party used to abuse the Ram Temple movement, say Ram never existed. Why doesn't he repeat it today? He cannot repeat it today. So he has to find some other way of wriggling out of it. Just like the Congress is doing. All the political parties, whether it is the Congress or the CPM or the Janata groups or the Samajwadi party, all were fiercely opposed to the Ram Janmabhoomi movement. They promoted violence to stop the movement, and so they cannot, in spite of it, Ram Temple has come up. They cannot utter one word against Rama, Ram Temple. Irfan Habib, who kept on abusing the Hindus for saying Rama existed, now he is making a statement, we made a mistake, we should have given it to the Hindus. The ecosystem has changed. So your reasoning for not attending the Ram Temple is not because Ram did not exist. No. There is a mix-up of politics and Ram, and that is why we are not joining. I think these objections are so meaningless today in the changed situation.
Mr. Gurmurthy, I'd like to thank you for joining us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective on the Pran Pratishtha ceremony and its significance.